Today's show is brought to you by the Pittsburgh Opera. The Pittsburgh Opera is presenting an adulterous double feature not seen here since 1996. It's got jealousy, two-timing, and revenge all united in the back-to-back tragedies of Cavalleria Rusticana and Pagliacci. Possessiveness, machismo, and rage fuel their bloody conclusions, and you can enjoy these two amazing operas on the same night, November 9th through the 17th. That's with the Pittsburgh Opera, who asks, where can we take you? Learn more at pittsburghopera.org/citycast. Today on City Cast Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania and the nation turned very red last night. The City Cast Pittsburgh team is running down the Allegheny County ballot, sharing state and federal winners, plus how we here in Pittsburgh contributed to the final but still preliminary, not yet certified results, and what to expect over the next few days. It's Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. The City Cast Pittsburgh team is in person. I'm with producers Sophia Lowe and Mallory Falk. Sophia, how would you describe the space we're currently in?
We are sitting on the floor on my rug in a half-finished office space.
And Mallory, how would you say the team is doing right now?
It's 4:30 in the morning. It has been a long night, as we knew it would be in Pennsylvania, but I'm actually surprised that we have results. We were really preparing ourselves to not know for several days, and we actually know a lot as of this recording.
Yeah, I was not mentally prepared to talk about actual results.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, and let's talk about them. So Republicans won big in Pennsylvania. We handed 19 electoral votes to Donald Trump. It looks at this point like he is headed back to the White House. Polling suggested it would be close, and it turns out it was not close at all.
No, when the AP called Pennsylvania for Trump just after 2 a.m., he had a 175,000 vote lead, which is more than double the lead that Biden won the state by back in 2020.
Yeah, because Biden won in 2020 with about more than 80,000 votes in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and we'll be kind of splitting back and forth between, what the state results were and what they were here locally, like how Pittsburgh and Allegheny County contributed to some of these results. Allegheny County chose Democrat Kamala Harris by a wide margin, not surprising at all. We
as expected.
Are a fairly consistent Democratic stronghold, but I think voter turnout played a big part in all this.
Yeah, it appears at least that voter turnout was slightly down in Allegheny County this time around compared to the last presidential election. So back in 2020, nearly 77.1% of registered voters cast ballots in the general election. Of the ballots counted so far, this time around, about 74.6 people voted in the cycle. Still being tallied, but it seems like there was a bit of a dip here in our county.
Yeah, so like a 2.5% difference, at least from what we can tell.
So moving down the ballot, the race for U.S. Senate, Republican Dave McCormick declared victory. This was his second bid for the U.S. Senate, and he was running against 18-year incumbent Bob Casey. So this win contributed to the Republicans reclaiming a Senate majority, and this race was one of the most expensive ones in the entire country.
But worth repeating, this race is one that technically hasn't been called. I mean, it's incredibly close.
Yeah, AP is calling it too close to call at this point.
But it looks like McCormick has the lead, so we'll just keep watching for this one.
Yeah, and I mean, Bob Casey, he has been in politics for a long time. His dad was in politics before him. So if he does, in fact, get unseated, if this race is declared for McCormick, that's going to be pretty stunning.
The polls had really tightened in the last few days, but not, I don't think to this degree.
Democrats did have some victories a little bit closer to home. So looking at the U.S. House of Representatives now, all those seats all over the country were up for election. Pennsylvania had 17 seats up for grabs.
Out of 435 seats nationwide.
Yep.
So incumbent Summer Lee, the Democrat, she won handily over Republican James Hayes, her challenger. This was in District 12, which includes Allegheny and Westmoreland counties. And Democrat Chris DeLuzio also took the win over Republican Rob Mercuri in District 17, which includes Beaver and parts of Allegheny counties. This was considered one of Pennsylvania's 5 most competitive districts, so it was one people really had their eyes on.
And I think Lee is also one that people really had their eyes on too, just because she's been such a vocal supporter of Palestinians and the war in Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's interesting about her is I think some of her peers who were also known for, speaking out against the U.S. support for Israel, were known for some of their more progressive policies. They lost in their primaries this time around, thinking about like Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. But Lee won pretty easily in the primary and then won pretty easily again in this general election. So
yeah, she was like the first race that got called in our area.
Yeah, like pretty much once the polls closed.
Yeah.
So she's had a different trajectory than some other reps with similar positions.
Yeah, but we're still not sure which party is going to keep or take control of the U.S. House as a whole, at least as of this recording. It's not clear yet. There's so many other open seats all over the country. Today's show is brought to you by the Greater Pittsburgh Arts Council. We know how much Yins love finding out about new events here on our podcast and in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. But if you're looking for even more options, we cannot say enough about the weekly arts and culture events roundups from our friends at the Greater Pittsburgh Arts Council. Their arts blog has local arts and culture recommendations for every single day of the week, no exaggeration, including exhibits, concerts, performances, films, literary events, and so much more, all happening right here in our region. If you've ever gotten FOMO from missing out on a gorgeous local art opening or an installation that all your friends are posting about, I am pretty sure the Arts Council had the scoop. Be like us and check them out at pittsburghartscouncil.org or follow them on Instagram at PGH Arts Council.
What's up, guys? It's the champ, Sean O'Malley, here to talk to you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. Run your game on Prize Picks.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
We do have the results for all of our state row offices. Republicans swept those. So that includes Dave Sunday for Attorney General. He was up against Pittsburgh local.
Eugene DePasquale.
Yes. And then incumbents kept their seats. That includes Timothy DeFore for Auditor General and Stacey Garrity as Treasurer.
And all three, again, Republicans. They really cleaned up. And they'll be working with now Democrat Josh Shapiro. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate those relationships in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been a time in recent memory when all 3 of those seats were held by Republicans. So
not that I can remember, no.
Kind of entering new territory here. Turning to the Pennsylvania Senate now, Republicans hope to keep their advantage. But as of press time, 5 seats haven't been called yet. So we don't fully know, who's going to have control of our state Senate. In our region, things look pretty good for the incumbents. So Devlin Robinson, a Republican, won his seat. Jay Costa, the Democrat, won his seat. He, of course, ran uncontested.
And then one we're still waiting on, District 45. It looks like the incumbent Democrat Nick Piscatano is likely to retain his seat. But, like we said up at the top, there are some races that we're still waiting on for sure.
Yeah. And then to keep it at the state level, different chamber, the Pennsylvania House, there were several seats uncontested. I'm always surprised when we get to elections and this many seats, like nobody's running against anyone. Like I understand that in some areas people just hold on to these things forever, but it just always surprises me when we get to this point, when it's not my region and I'm just kind of glancing from a distance.
I mean, elections take so much time, energy, money.
Money. Yeah,
I
totally
get it sometimes.
Anyway, at press time, 21 seats outside of our region had yet to be called. So we're not sure yet who's going to control the Pennsylvania House. Democrats had been in control, but we will see come January what takes shape. There are so many districts. We really encourage y'all to go check out our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter if you want to see the folks that retained control of their seats or were successful in their bids.
Okay, so now how we got here, because like we said at the top, I think people weren't really expecting there to be results, for us to know much of anything definitive in Pennsylvania tonight. We don't have early voting, but some counties, like our own Allegheny County, have created workarounds like these satellite voting sites. Whether you cast your ballot in person, by mail, through a provisional ballot or an absentee vote, by law, we here in Pennsylvania could not start counting votes until Election Day, which slowed down election returns. It's part of why we as a state have been getting so much attention, and people didn't expect us to have this figured out tonight.
Yeah.
Right. But, we're pretty fast at counting. Allegheny County counts its ballots that are mail-ins faster than other counties in Pennsylvania because in 2020, we invested a lot in new tech that just works really quickly. Like, we were at the election warehouse. We saw these samples going in, the ballots counted super quickly, mail-in envelopes being opened really fast.
Yeah, 50,000 per hour in this extremely high-tech machine.
Yeah, but in a really dank warehouse, which is a fun juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Officials also say we have one of the highest mail-in ballot cure rates in the state, so giving people the opportunity to fix any problems with mail-in ballots.
Yeah, like a date or a signature in the wrong place.
Yeah,
or if you do the envelopes right.
Yeah, if you put your birthday on the envelope instead of the date you were dropping it in the mail.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, Allegheny County, we had our results in just after midnight, which is pretty impressive. Props to everybody at the warehouse. Mm-hmm. But I know that Philly made investments in similar technology and machinery this time around to try to speed things up. And it looks like it paid off. And that's a large part of why we have these statewide results earlier than expected, because Philly actually got its results in on election
morning,
day.
Election night, within hours of the polls
election
closing.
Purgatory.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I want to go back to something you said, Mallory, too, because Allegheny County, most of our ballots have been counted. I think we're at 99% or thereabouts right now. But there are 9 precincts total out of the more than 1,000 that we have that still haven't posted their results. We're expecting those as you're listening to this today. Provisional ballots still need to be reviewed and processed. Those can take up to 7 to 10 days. And then military ballots can also arrive for the next week. So counties looking ahead have 15 business days to submit their final results. They're going to count and count again. And then the state is scheduled to certify all Pennsylvania ballots from every county on December 11th. So that's when everything will be official. I don't think that's when we're going to know how this all shakes out. I think that'll come a lot sooner.
Yeah. So like we said, there's still some races to be called. Control of some chambers still up for grabs. We highly encourage you to stick around and listen to our Friday show, where we'll be getting into more analysis about what exactly happened and hopefully have some final tallies for you as well.
Yeah, and kind of what to expect from our leaders at the state level and, the local folks, the people from Pittsburgh that will now be leading at the federal level, what to expect from them in the next 2 to 4 to 6 years, because we are looking at a vastly different nation come January than the one we're sitting in today.
Yeah, we will definitely be talking about how all of these positions will affect what it's like to be a Pittsburgher, to be a Pennsylvanian, what these results mean in the days and years to come.
And if you have any questions you'd like us to try to get answered for you, hit us up in our inbox. Our email is pittsburgh@citycast.fm.
That's all for today here on City Cast Pittsburgh. Special thanks to SPAC, who fed us pizza, to Sophia, who gave us cookies, for the fruit we had, and for our partners for taking care of us and listening to all of our text messages in the wee hours of the morning. There is even more election coverage in today's Hey Pittsburgh newsletter, so definitely check that out. We will be back tomorrow morning. Talk to you soon.